So a number of previews for Final Fantasy XVI have dropped this morning, nearly 4 months in advance of the game's release. So Square Enix is clearly very confident in what they have here with this game. Square was also nice enough to compile a list of all of the outlets who got to play the game early. Now, because these outlets all played the same vertical slice of the game, a majority of the previews are all very similar, so there isn't much unique info from outlet to outlet. The footage you're seeing in the background is from the Easy Allies. Brad was able to go to New York and play the preview and report his findings to Bloodworth and Damiani. But as always, I'll leave a link to the articles and the footage used in my video in the description below. So the scenario for the preview is Clive, Torgal, and Cid are chasing down Benedicta throughout a Sandbreck castle, battling enemies on the way, which leads to a boss battle with different phases. Clive in his human form versus Garuda, and Clive transforming into Ifrit to battle Garuda in Icon mode. The first thing people point out is how close to Devil May Cry 5 this game feels versus something like Final Fantasy VII Remake. The game's combat designer Ryota Suzuki formerly worked on DMC5's combat as well. So if you've played DMC or even Bayonetta, you'll probably be really comfortable with how this game plays. In this preview, Clive was given access to icon abilities he wouldn't normally have at this point in time, allowing for players to really test out combat. Using L2 as a hotkey toggle allows you to seamlessly switch through icon movesets and abilities. Garuda allows for a claw grab to pull enemies towards you. Phoenix's ability allows Clive to quickly dash forward with a Cyclone spin attack, and Titan's lets you slam the ground for an AoE attack. Press Start mentions that Titan's moveset grants the ability to use a shield counter, which seems to act as a parry. These abilities will have cooldowns as well to prevent spamming them. Clive will also learn new abilities with each icon encounter, something the developers mentioned was inspired by Final Fantasy V's ability system. Many outlets compare the combat to feeling like God of War at times, with these roller coaster-esque cinematic moments during fights. Action combat can feel overwhelming for many players, especially those who haven't played many before. Many games just create a story mode where you play through the game on an easier difficulty to progress through combat. Final Fantasy XVI will instead be implementing a story-focused option and an action-based option for the difficulty settings. Enemies in story mode will be just as difficult as they are in the action-based mode, but the game will provide you with accessories to aid you in battle and to help ease players into combat rather than just creating a whole new difficulty mode for it. In come the timely accessories, of which there are 5 of. We have Ring of Timely Focus. Temporarily slows time before an incoming attack, allowing you more time to react. Ring of Timely Assistance removes the need for you to give Torgal battle commands manually. Ring of Timely Strikes, execute deadly combos by pressing X. Ring of Timely Evasion, automatically dodge most incoming attacks. And last, we have Ring of Timely Healing, automatically use potions when HP drops below a certain threshold. 2 of these accessories can be equipped at any given time. And for those wanting a bigger challenge, you'll be able to utilize the Final Fantasy difficulty setting, which acts as a New Game Plus mode. This mode will have stronger enemies in larger groups and even different battles. I think this is incredibly smart on the developer's part. Rather than dumbing things down for the player, they're making it easier to pull off cool abilities without sacrificing the vision of the gameplay. Using these accessories might even encourage players to eventually learn to play without them, effectively building up players' skill and confidence levels. I really hope to see other action games utilize this idea in the future. And we cannot forget Torgal. You can issue commands to him in battle via the D-pad with options of Sick, Heal, and Ravage. And yes, you can pet Torgal as well. As for icon battles, once Clive transforms into Ifrit, he'll have the ability to attack from range, throw punches, utilize QTEs, and even suplex enemies. Now we all can live out our dreams of being Brock Lesnar and taking fools to Suplex City. GameSpot notes that utilizing the brute strength of Ifrit against a Garuda who can use wind to affect the battlefield was a blast. As for the game's performance, the demo was capped at 4K 30 frames per second, but Yoshi P did state that the game would ship with a 60 frames per second performance mode as well. Speaking on the game's voice acting, Push Square notes that while the delivery of the dialogue is melodramatic, it never feels awkward, almost like it was written in English and then translated to Japanese. This is really nice to hear. From Final Fantasy VII Remake to now 16, it seems like Square is really getting their act together with their writing and voice direction, so it'll be interesting to hear a lot of this dialogue play out. The game is also incredibly rich in lore, and because of that, the developers have implemented what they are calling active time lore, or ATL for short. This feature will allow the player to pause the game at any given time and get lore refreshers on characters, the history of a nation, or even events that may have just taken place. Push Square also did learn that the game will have a hub area where you can interact with characters, upgrade your weapons and equipment, and even learn more about the world. And that pretty much covers the entirety of the gameplay portion preview for Final Fantasy XVI. There are some other developer interviews that focus a little bit more on story, but those kind of border into spoiler territory, so I'm trying to be very careful about what I cover in regards to this game. I don't want to spoil anything for myself or other people, so I'll go ahead and leave the story and lore coverage to the Night Sky Prince, who always does a fantastic job covering that stuff. He makes it really digestible and easy to understand, and just the way he structures that stuff is something I wish I was better at. But I really wanted to focus on the gameplay aspects of what people got to play in this preview, and everything sounds like it's shaping up to be absolutely phenomenal. I love what they're doing with the combat. I think the accessories is so smart. Rather than dumbing things down and making things really easy, they're just kind of easing people into what action games actually are. And I really hope to see other games do this in the future. Maybe a Devil May Cry 6 or another Bayonetta, or even a future God of War. I think that is just absolutely brilliant. Hearing that the voice acting and the writing are also really great as well just reassures me even more for future projects like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, as well as the third part of the trilogy. So everything that they've talked about is incredibly impressive, and I am genuinely now excited to get my hands on this game, so cross your fingers that they do release a demo for this game sometime in the next few months. So with that being said, that's the video. I am Curious Corduroy. As always, please leave any of your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. What did you guys think of all of this gameplay blowout information? Is there anything that you're kind of concerned about? Is there anything that you're really intrigued or surprised by? Leave those in the comments down below. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.